This is a telling of the epic poem Beowulf.
It is a heroic poem about a Scandinavian prince and his conquests of hideous monsters.
Beowulf, brave prince, used his intelligence as much as he might against the beast. He used his bravery as much as his calm resolve against the beasts.
The beasts were the most foul as any before or after his time. The beasts were the most vicious and unrelenting as any before or after his time.
Beowulf himself was not a giant or god. He possessed no powers beyond mortal man, or carried enchanted weapons against these beasts.
The beasts themselves did not hold special magical abilities other than largeness and strength.
It was man versus beast. And because this man used his common sense, and because the beasts were without, he triumphed victorious over them. Beowulf, the man.
Grendel, Grendel's mother, and the fire drake, the beasts.
King Hrothgar had built a magnificent palace he called Heorot. He hosted a great banquet to celebrate his completion. But when the feasting was over and all fell asleep, an ominous creature crept to the palace doors from the fen.
It was black and slimy with green eyes. It left a trail of mud on the ground where it crawled. Grendel's teeth rotted in crooked strills. Its red claws sprang out quickly, slashing anything in its path, and its breath smoked a tremendous stench.
When it entered the great hall of Heorot, the beast began to tear apart and eat all who slept there. So large was its presence, so fast was its bite, and evil in its devouring ways. There was little time for anyone to react before they, too, fell consumed.
Daylight brought King Hrothgar and his queen Wealhtheow great sorrow as they looked at the slaughter. Who could have done such an evil deed? Grendel came the name. The horrific beast Grendel from the fen is the only one who could have created such carnage. There were no more banquets, no more merriment at Heorot. They shut the door to keep the terrible monster Grendel out.
Now Beowulf heard of the tragedy at Heorot and went to see if he could help. Some thought he'd do a small fight a beast like Grendel. Some thought he was very brave. Some thought he was insane.
But Beowulf waited for Grendel one fated night, and when the monster came through the doors of Heorot, Beowulf jumped on its back and held on as tightly as he could. It was no easy task, as the beast's scales were slimy, and Grendel whipped about in powerful spasms, trying to dislodge Beowulf from his back.
Beowulf would not budge, and in the end, he managed to tear an arm off of Grendel. With that, the beast littered away, wailing and bleeding from having lost an arm. Grendel slithered back to the fen to die.
All hailed Beowulf's bravery and strength in facing Grendel. But now that Grendel was dead, there was another danger. For all to be safe once more, Beowulf knew he faced another ominous matter.
Beowulf knew if he killed the beast Grendel, he would also have to kill a beast fiercer than Grendel, Grendel's mother.
Beowulf traveled to the edge of a deep pool where blood bubbled on its surface. He figured Grendel had slithered down into the pool to be with his mother at his death. If he were to get to the mother, Beowulf would have to dive down into the deep pool.
Beowulf plunged into the pool and swam down and down until he saw a green light. No sooner had he made his way to the green light when Beowulf felt large arms with tentacles wrapping around him.
It was Grendel's mother who had Beowulf now. A beast so bad she never received a proper name. He began to panic, not knowing how much longer he could hold his breath in the murky pool. The deeper the creature took him, the tighter her arms closed about him.
And he could no longer hold his breath. Beowulf burst and began gasping for air, and lo, there was air for him to take in. He was in the lair of Grendel's mother. Regaining his breath, Beowulf pulled his sword and hacked at her arms, but the scales were too tough for a blade to pierce. It would be of no use for him against this beast. He would have to use his wits.
So Beowulf spoke to Grendel's mother, saying,
I am Beowulf, son of Echdale. I am Beowulf, who am myself. I fear you not.
Beowulf's terror was increasing, and Grendel's mother soon released her hold on him and fell asleep. Beowulf put his strong hands around her neck and strangled her. Her body began to melt. She was dead.
Now, through circumstances not entirely of Beowulf's choosing, he became the king of his people. He lived and ruled for 40 years, until the day he had to face the Fire.
The Fire Drake, a most vile and evil creature that would haunt the places men bury treasure and the dead. It was a fire-breathing lizard of swift and deadly teeth. When angered, its scaly body would swell in size, its golden eyes flash, and its tail flip and snap with damaging accuracy.
It happened that an escaped slave did anger the Frederick by taking a piece of treasure from its cave. With vengeance in its eyes, the Frederick emerged from its mountain-top cave, spread its wings, and swooped down to the countrysides below. Fields, houses, shops. The Frederick's very breath spared nothing. When dawn came, the Frederick withdrew back into its cave. It left the valley in nothing but ash.
When word got to King Beowulf, he knew he must take action against his horrible foe. His knights argued with one another about who should face the Fardrake, not clamoring to volunteer but suggesting the other should be the slayer. Beowulf, no word inside, grew weary of the scholarly debate and finally said he would go and kill the Fardrake. After hearing this, 12 knights, ashamed of their complaining, offered Beowulf the swords against the Fardrake. Beowulf accepted their participation but said swords would not be necessary. However, he could use the knights to carry the hives.
Beowulf took young Beowulf to the mountain. He explained his plan, which Beowulf would be a part. Beowulf's plan to kill the Fardrake. Once to the creature's cave, Beowulf had his knight set the 12 beehives down, and Beowulf sleep inside the cave with a tall stake and large club used by the beekeeper. As Beowulf suspected, Beowulf found the dragon sleeping after its fire, burning rampage of the night before. Beowulf hid himself and waited for Beowulf.
Beowulf now stepped into the Fardrake's lair and blew a horn to awaken the beast. Startled awake, the Fardrake quickly opened its mouth, preparing to spew fire on the intruder. But Wiglaf leaped out of his hiding place and stuck the stole stake upright into the Fardrake's open mouth, and tossed the beekeeper's glove in as well. He then hid himself again to watch what would happen next. Try as he might, the Fardrake could not dislodge the stake, and the glove became caught in his teeth.
Surely, the queen bee crawled out to the glove and made a buzzing noise. The Frederick gasped for air and inadvertently swallowed the queen bee. It was too late. The alarm already sounded, and the thousands of bees flew out of the 12 beehives, swarming into the cave. The Frederick could not do anything but watch the bees fly into his mouth and stomach. Once there, the bees stung and stung the Frederick until the mighty beast gave up, rolled over into his back, and died.
Wiglaf emerged from his hiding place in wonder how easy it was to kill such a ferocious beast but when he looked to face Beowulf's ingenuity, his heart fell. Beowulf had collapsed at the front of the cave. Wiglaf hurried to his king's side where Beowulf remarked,
If you can't best evil by strength alone, then muster a little cunning. Some may call it cowardly, but a down beast is a down beast.
At his death, Beowulf wondered if history would remember him as the young Beowulf who used his strength against evil, or the old Beowulf who used his wits.
It should please Beowulf to know he's remembered as both, as Beowulf who killed the beasts Grendel's mother and the fire drake.